It was 2 in the morning, the kind of hour when even the wind forgets to move. Out on our ranch, everything was still, just the hum of crickets and the soft creak of the porch swing. Then I heard it, gravel crunching under tires. Headlights slicing through the dark, sweeping across the fence line. 4 men got out of a van. Uniforms, badges, flashlights, looked official enough to fool somebody half asleep. But my grandpa wasn't that somebody. He was already on the porch before I even made it halfway down the stairs. Coffee mug in one hand, wearing plaid pajamas tucked into boots, calm as ever. The men started barking orders. Open up. HOA enforcement. Step aside. And Grandpa just squinted at them like he was sizing up cheap tools. Evening, boys, he said, voice steady as a rifle shot. That badge looks shiny. Where'd you print it, Kinko's? They stiffened, trying to look tough, but Grandpa wasn't buying it. Real cops don't wear Velcro name tags, he added, leaning against the doorframe. The leader tried to shove his way past him, but Grandpa moved faster than a man his age had any right to. One twist of the wrist, and that fake badge hit the porch. You don't touch me on my property, he said, and something in his voice made all of them freeze. He didn't shout. Didn't need to. It was the tone of a man who'd commanded soldiers once, the kind of tone that still carried weight even decades later. When they ran off, tires spitting gravel, I finally asked what everyone was thinking. Who were those guys? He sipped his coffee like nothing happened. Pretenders, he said. HOA thugs trying to scare us. But they picked the wrong ranch. Then he looked out into the dark, eyes sharp, and added quietly, because once upon a time, I trained the real thing. That was the night I found out my grandpa, old, steady, quiet grandpa, used to be a Navy SEAL. And apparently, retirement hadn't dulled his instincts one bit. Word got around fast. By morning, the HOA board had called an emergency meeting. Their clubhouse looked like a church that had lost its faith. Fluorescent lights buzzing, coffee gone cold, folding chairs scraping against tile. At the head of the room was Gerald Crane, the self-appointed emperor of our neighborhood. Right beside him, Karen Dempsey, queen of the clipboard, and her son Tyler, a lanky 20-something with too much ego and not enough sense. They were furious. Gerald slammed his gavel and declared, "We will not allow one man to undermine the sanctity of our community." Like it was a crusade instead of a zoning dispute. Tyler threw down a folder full of photos he'd taken from his car, grainy shots of our chicken coop and fence. "We hit his place again," he said. "But this time, we go in harder." Even Karen looked nervous. "You mean, like violence?" Tyler grinned. "Call it community correction." The room went dead quiet, and that was when they showed their true hand. This wasn't about chickens or fences. It was about land. Ours sat on a patch the developers wanted for a new luxury project, and the HOA was just their puppet. A few nights later, Tyler came back, sneaking along the fence line with 2 buddies. Grandpa saw them before I did. He handed me a roll of fishing line and said, "Let's have a little fun." Within an hour, our place looked like a Home Alone reboot. Trip wires, buckets balanced on ledges, motion sensor sprinklers, even a chicken coop rigged to spring open. I asked if this wasn't a little much, and he just grinned. "Kid, in the Navy, we called this restraint." When Tyler tripped the first wire, the bucket drenched him head to toe. His friend laughed, then slipped into the mud as the sprinklers came alive. And when Tyler tried to climb over the fence, the coop burst open and a furious rooster launched itself straight at his head, wings flapping, beak swinging. I swear I almost passed out laughing. Grandpa didn't even smile, just leaned back in his chair and said, "Music to my ears." By the time he turned on the flashlight, the 3 of them looked like drowned rats, covered in mud and feathers. "Evening, boys," Grandpa said. "Enjoying the facilities?" Tyler sputtered. "You'll regret this. My mom runs the HOA." Grandpa stepped closer, voice low. "Son, if your mom had any sense, she'd tell you not to trespass on a SEAL's land." That line should have ended it. But instead, it started round 2. Next morning, we woke to the sound of sirens. Real ones this time. Sheriff's cruisers lined the driveway, and Karen stormed out of her car in a red blazer, pointing like a prosecutor. "Arrest that man. He assaulted my son with livestock," she shrieked. The sheriff, a woman with silver hair and 0 patience, looked her over, then looked at Grandpa, and suddenly grinned. "Well, I'll be damned," she said. "Commander Miller. Didn't expect to see you again." Karen blinked. "Commander?" The sheriff ignored her. When they said there was a terrorist rancher out here, I figured it was a slow night. But I should have known it was you. The deputies chuckled, and when they saw the HOA's official documents, a Word file in Comic Sans titled HOA Enforcement Warrant, they lost it completely. The sheriff folded the paper in half, slid it into her pocket, and said, "Lady, bylaws don't trump the Constitution. And last I checked, private property's still private." Karen's jaw dropped. Gerald turned purple. Tyler muttered something about lawsuits, but the sheriff cut him off. "You trespass again, I'll arrest you for impersonating law enforcement." And just like that, the convoy drove off, leaving Karen fuming and Grandpa sipping coffee like it was any other day. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. 2 nights later, Grandpa walked straight into the HOA meeting. Didn't sneak, didn't knock, just strolled in, hat low, mug in hand, like he owned the place. "Evening, neighbors," he said. "Heard y'all been talking about my land. Thought I'd join the conversation." You could have heard a pin drop. Then the back door opened, and a man stepped in wearing a suit sharp enough to cut glass. Tall, clean-shaven, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Miller," he said. "Didn't expect to see you here." The room went still. Even Gerald didn't know what to say. "Mason Carter," Grandpa said finally, his voice cold. "Didn't expect you either." Turns out Mason wasn't just a developer. He was the developer. Horizon Development. The money behind the HOA. And the twist? He used to serve under Grandpa in the Navy. Grandpa trained him, trusted him, until Mason sold intel for cash and got dishonorably discharged. Now here he was, wearing a $1,000 suit, trying to buy the very ground Grandpa stood on. "It's not personal," Mason said smoothly. "It's business. Your ranch sits on prime expansion land. You're in the way." Grandpa stared him down. "Then I'll be the rock you break your shovel on." The room murmured, people shifting, realizing this wasn't about fences anymore. Mason leaned close and whispered, "Careful, Commander. Wars today are fought with money, not bullets. And I've got plenty." Grandpa smiled, slow and dangerous. "Maybe, but I've got something you never will. Neighbors who are tired of being bullied." The next morning, black SUVs rolled down our driveway, dust curling behind them. Men in suits got out, private security, not cops. Mason stood at the front, calling out loud enough for the whole road to hear. "Commander Miller, 48 hours to vacate, or we bury you in court." Grandpa didn't flinch. "Funny," he said. "Last time I saw you, Mason, you were the one begging for mercy." Mason's smirk twitched. "The world's changed. You can't win this one." Grandpa's voice rose, firm and steady. "I've fought men with guns, with armies, with nations behind them. Money's just another weapon. And every weapon can backfire." Mason's grin faded. He gave the signal, and the SUVs peeled out, engines roaring. When the dust settled, I looked at Grandpa. "Can we really fight them?" He didn't look at me, just kept staring at the horizon. "Kid," he said, "I've been outnumbered before." That night, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, the phone rang, one short buzz, then silence, then a voice, rough and low. "Tell Miller his 48 hours just became 24. Then it clicked dead. I turned, and there he was, already dressed, boots laced, eyes burning like a storm waiting to break. He hung up the phone, gave that calm half-smile, and said, "They just made their last mistake. And that's where I'll leave you, because what came after? Well, let's just say the HOA never expected the old man to still know how to wage a war. So tell me, if someone tried to take your home, your land, the place where your family built everything, would you fight back like Grandpa did, or would you walk away and let them win?" Drop your answer in the comments, because I've been thinking about that ever since that night, and I still don't know which side of TH. That line I'd fall on.